We country kids call city slickers, yeah.
Yes, I can't tell you much about Paekakariki, but I can tell you some nice experiences in the city. And by the way, Harry, my sister told me to pass on her regards if I saw you.
I'm a bachelor.
There we know.
Well, thank you. I welcome the opportunity, really, to be able to say how marvellously kind you guys were to kids.
Well,
And I say that quite sincerely. I had 2 or 3 wonderful experiences of the kindness of Marines and sailors. We used to hang around the Tivoli Theatre on Sunday night, servicemen only, you know. We'd hang around looking all cow-eyed and stuff until some Marine said, "Would you like to go in, kid?" You see, that's what we do. We hang around because they could take a partner. So we'd hang around and they'd say, "Come on," and they'd take us in. It was marvellous, you know. But I'll tell a story that I'll keep it brief. I worked in newspaper publishing industry, and I had to go to the Los Angeles Times to have a look at something that they were installing that we were thinking of doing, da-da-da. And I was picked up and told that I would have my appointment in the morning, 10 or 11, but you were going to it'd be obligatory, you were going to have to speak to the Vice President's luncheon. I thought, oh dear. So I had a sort of a sleepless night, and I caught the cab in the morning, and I didn't know what was an Evening Post newspaper person going to say to one of the greatest papers in the world, the LA Times, you know. And I had this inspiration in the cab as I went in. And I used to sell the Evening Post on the St George corner, all right?
yes.
Don't ask me to do the call, please.
Evening call! Evening call!
What's that, Pao? You better.
How was it?
Evening, Pao! Anyway, the Navy, US Navy, had a regular meeting in St George. I don't know how many floors up, but one guy used to come out and buy a paper off me as he came out, and always gave me a tip, a generous tip. You know, the paper was 2pence. Often you'd get threepence, keep the penny. Somebody kind would give you a 6pence. But this guy used to give me a bob, a shilling, and that was a real tip, you know. So one day he was late, and I had one paper left, so I waited. 15 minutes, long time for a 14-year-old, you know. But I waited, and he came out. And he said, "Hello." He said, "You sold all your papers, kid?" And I said, "No, I've kept one." "You kept me one? That's real swell, you know." And I said, "Yeah, sure." So he took the paper and he went to give me, and he used to give me a shilling, you know, Bob. And he said, "No, hang on." And he pulled out of his pocket a card. And he said, "Do you like music?" And I said, "Yes." You know, it was all Glenn Miller and stuff in the movies there. Yeah. And I said, "Yeah." He says, "Here." He says, "You take this." "No, give it back to me." And he wrote something on the back. He says, "You bring this with you tonight." Okay. So when I walked away from him, it was a USO concert around Oriental Bay. I think it was the Yacht Club building. I'm not quite sure. Was it? Yeah. And on the back was his signature. So I took it home and showed it to my mother. It was that night, and she wasn't very happy about it. And anyway, she scrubbed me up and let me go. And I arrived at the door, and at the door were the 2 big SPs. Yes. And what do you want, you know? And I showed them the card, and they said, "Yeah?" I said, "Would you have a look on the back, please?" Had a look on the back. "Oh, yeah, just a moment." Went away and came back with this guy. He was a commander, I gather. And he said, "You take this kid and look after him," he said. "Get him a Coke," my first Coke in my life. Get him a Coke. Yeah. And a candy bar, I don't know, Babe Ruth or O. Henry bar or something. And look after him. I sat there, and out came the Artie Shaw Orchestra.
Oh, that's right, yes.
With Jackie Cooper, the actor, on drums. And I just couldn't believe it. And anyway, I at Kilbirnie after school. on this afternoon, and a tram came around, swinging around to the tram barns around there,
Yep.
and there were 2 American sailors there, and the tram hit one of these young guys, knocked him onto the ground, and the other fellow, rushed over to help him, and he hadn't broken his leg or anything, but he was injured, and he said, "Look, get me a cab, to me." So I thought, yes, okay. so I tore off down the about 100 yards or whatever to get a cab and bring him back. I said, "What's the problem?" And they said they were worried about the SPs arriving. Apparently they'd had a bit to drink and they shouldn't have been there. They wanted to get out of it quickly. So I piled them into the cab and as he was going, he pulled out and gave me a note. Here, kid, and I expect he thought it was $1.
Yeah, probably.
When it drove away, it was $20. Now think about it, people.
Yes, in those days.
I went to the bank, we cash US dollars, on the windows.
You could have bought the
£20, 1 and 8 pence. That was serious money.
Yes.
I didn't tell my mother, I didn't tell my brothers, I didn't tell my sister, and I didn't tell my mates at school. It took me about 6 months to spend it progressively.